right. Good morning, y'all.
Morning.
Morning.
Hey, so our setup is a little bit different today. There's 4 squares. We have a special guest with us. Dr. Elizabeth Christian is joining us. Hey, how's it going? Yeah.
Hello.
Morning.
It's good. I'm glad you're here.
How about the boys and girls know Dr. Christian from church?
Yeah. She wears a lot of hats around the church, office volunteer, stewardship chair. But today we've invited Elizabeth here to come and talk to us about stewardship. Excuse me, because that's what we're in the middle of right now is a stewardship season. So our first question is, we've been throwing that word around. For our boys and girls, can you tell us, what does stewardship mean?
I think that stewardship, we usually think of stewardship in 3 different ways, and it's what you can give to your church. And we think of as giving your time and your talent and your monetary donations to our church, to God. And this can be done by adults in different ways, but it can also be done by children and young people.
Yeah.
And if I just think of a couple of things, how can you give of your time? Well, a lot of the young people in our church do give a lot of their time. I've seen pictures packing boxes for the elderly, which is wonderful. And you gave time in helping us have one of the best church services a couple of weeks ago. And all of those things are so important. And as far as talent, we've listened to beautiful music by some of the young people. So those are, I think, important.
Dr. Christian, that's exactly right. Well, somebody said this once, and I have always remembered this when I think about stewardship. Somebody said that stewardship is everything you do after you say, I believe. You say, I believe in all of these things we believe in church, but then stewardship is the way you then give back of all those blessings that God has given us. So stewardship is everything you do after you say, I believe. I think that, in addition to what you said, which is correct, I think that's another way to think about stewardship too.
I do. And I think that, if you think about giving, some of the young people in the church I know probably get allowances. And I mean, even if you gave a quarter of your allowance to the church, think of the people that you help. And it makes you feel happy that you help children that are much more needy than we are. So I think that's also important.
So that kind of brings us to our second question is we see a lot of our Yams and King Street kids helping out. So there's not really an age limit to when you can start taking part in this thing called stewardship, is there?
Not at all. I think that when you start out as a young person, I think it just evolves for the rest of your life. And I think, no, not at all. And whenever, as Pastor Eric says, when you join the church or you're baptized, you begin your stewardship journey.
With this together. Dr. Christian mentioned about allowance. So Jack and Katie, when they have a little allowance each week, and part of that allowance each week goes to, part of it, the first 2 parts go to saving, and it's not a very big allowance. I won't say how much it is, but it's not a very big allowance. But the first part goes to saving, and the other goes to church. So that we start early to know that these are important gifts to give back to the church. I also think about my friend from college. She, after she had graduated, she's a teacher, and she started a job teaching, and she didn't really have a lot of money, I think, starting out, but she said that each week, the first check that she wrote was to her church, even then. And I said, so, wow, I mean, that's, of all the expenses you have as a new teacher, and you have your apartment and car and all of this, how can you afford? She says, because I've always been taught from an early age to do that. And that's the first check I write each month.
Let me, I guess, put it in a little bit of a perspective. If someone thinks that their money is too little, in the food pantry, I mean, we have cans of things, unit cans of like tuna, or cans of vegetables that we get from Low Country Food Bank that cost, that one can costs less than 25 cents. And yet that can of food can be used for a meal for somebody in their home. And so that 25 cents goes to help make a meal for someone. Or, talking about using our gifts and our time. A few Sundays back, we did cards for the girls at Masama School, and you don't have to be a grown-up to make a card for somebody. And there were some really beautiful cards in there that some of our youngest parishioners, youngest kids made, and they're gonna go overseas, and that's really cool too. So there are things that young kids can do that make a huge difference in someone's day, in someone's life.
And I also think, speaking of cards, I think if I received a card, from a young person, it just makes you smile. It just makes you so happy, and I love that. When I've gotten so many cards from my nieces and nephews, I mean, I've framed a lot of them because it makes you so happy. And so I think that's a wonderful thing to do. And just think of the young people that are the acolytes that carry the cross every Sunday. I think it makes them feel happy to do that. And so those are wonderful things people do. Such good stewards.
Yeah. So stewardship is not just about money, is it, Dr. Christian? You just mentioned all these other things that boys and girls can do, and they help through their service to the church, or maybe in their schools, maybe around they're doing chores around the house. That could be part of it as well. So stewardship is about money, but it's not all about money. It's about
Correct.
all the gifts that we've been given and how we, in Thanksgiving, can give back. Yeah.
So how do we take part in stewardship?
Well, I think that I hopefully that my part in stewardship is the time that I am able to give to the church, to doing things such as helping with Oktoberfest and working in the church office. Those are in different committees, in which make me happy. I mean, I hope it helps the church, but I'm happy to do it. It makes me feel happy and peaceful. And so those are some of the things. And then as I set aside a little bit of my money donations to give to the church also, to, help other people. So those are the ones. And I don't know about any talent at the moment, but time I'm giving, I hope. And so that's right now.
I hope that my service here at the church speaks a word of good news. I hope that's a word of stewardship. In terms of the way we give, we do the old-fashioned way. Christy writes a check each month, and we give one check each month at the first of the month. And she puts it into a collection plate. Some people do electronic giving, and some people wait and give their offering once at one time in the years. So people do it different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beyond my time, I choose to do the electronic giving, because if I can set something up and it just does it automatically and I don't have to think about it, it's so much easier for me. So it's just every week, whatever it is comes out and I don't even notice it.
Yeah.
Or have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's easy.
I'm in the same boat as Daniel. As I do the electronic giving as well, just because it ensures that I don't forget to do it. And then beyond St. Matthew's, I also think about organizations or places that have made an impact on my life, where someone took time or took effort in my formation of faith. And so when I can, I try to give gifts to places that have made an impact on my life and give back. So things like ELCA Fund for Leaders helped with my seminary tuition. And so that was a huge help for me. Or Young Adults in Global Mission, being in Yagam, made a huge impact on my life. Or giving to Luther Ridge, where that's a place that still impacts my life. And so I've experienced the good work from those places, and I want those places to be able to continue that good work. And so I also try to give to those places as well.
I was just going to say, I think that for the young people, I think that also being a good steward is coming to church on Sundays or to Wednesdays. And that doesn't really concern a lot of your time, talent, or any monetary donations. It is just worshiping with other people and feeling that you are participating in the church. So I think that's also being a good steward.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. There's so many ways we can give back.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Christian, for joining us and sharing with our boys and girls about stewardship. And so we're looking forward. By the time this episode airs, it'll air on October 22nd, I believe. And so we will have, I think, a couple more Sundays before our big wrap up of stewardship season, our emphasis on stewardship. So also invite the boys and girls to think about how they can share their time and their gifts with the congregation. Everybody makes a difference in this community, even our boys and girls, no matter how young they are. So, all right.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all so much, and y'all have a good week.
Thank you all. Be well, everybody.
Thank you.